New this morning, most of the federal government shut down after Congress failed to reach a funding agreement. And as we mentioned, that impact of the shutdown will extend across the country.
Mario Ramirez is live at the airport with more on how this standoff could affect Southern California. Mario.
Good morning. That's right. The shutdown that went into effect as of 12:01 a.m. could lead to the furlough and firing of federal workers. However, some deemed essential are required to show up to work without pay, including thousands here at LAX. So let's take a look at that list. These are the workers that will not be paid during this shutdown. They include active duty U.S. military service members, law enforcement agents, Border Patrol and immigration enforcement agents, air traffic controllers, and TSA officers. Now, the Federal Aviation Administration and TSA define most of their employees as essential, and that means airport screeners, these air traffic controllers, federal air marshals, safety inspectors, and other workers with those two agencies are expected to continue showing up without pay, even as lawmakers fail to strike a deal on federal funding to keep it running. Now, if the shutdown drags on and those government employees are without a check, that pressure could push some to call out or even walk away. And although the shutdown is just getting started, travelers we spoke to here at the airport are prepared.
We showed up a little bit earlier than we normally would, about 30 minutes, but it is 6 in the morning. Our flight's at 6 in the morning, so we didn't think it'd be too much of a concern this morning. And then luckily where we're going on our return trip, we've been there before, and they're non-TSA contractors.
When Congress, convenes, that they really need to think about the families and stop fighting over things that really it's not theirs to fight about. As it is, we stand in long lines and stuff. It's just going to make people wait much longer. And not only that, Department of Education, I'm a retired teacher, so it affects children.
One of the other big agencies impacted by the shutdown, the Education Department. Nearly 90% of its workforce furloughed. Student loans and Pell Grants will keep going, and FAFSA loans are still being processed, but civil rights investigations halted. New federal grants are on hold, and aid to some districts, including those near military bases, could face delays if the shutdown drags on. So back out here live, thousands of federal airport workers here at LAX are now on the job without pay during this shutdown. And some analysts estimate that this is costing $1 billion each day. For now, live at LAX, I'm Mario Ramirez. We'll send it back to you.
Yeah, the last time, 2018, when the government did shut down, $8 billion it cost the government. But let's talk for a moment about air travel. The last time this happened, how did it impact air travel?
Yeah, well, we know it started in December of 2018. It lasted 34 days into the new year, and during that time, it was estimated about 10% of TSA workers didn't show up for work. So you can imagine the ripple effect it had, not only at airports here in Southern California, but across the country. And at this point, it's not clear when this government shutdown will end.
All right, Mario, thank you. We're going to continue our coverage now and take you to Washington there. Doug Lazater live for us with how it's looking this morning. We talked to you 24 hours ago. You almost told us that this was almost going to be inevitable, and here we are today. It is kind of it's a deadlock situation, right? Because there's nothing really planned today in terms of talks between the two sides.
Yeah, I mean, what we said yesterday was that there were no off-ramps, and that continues to be the case today. It's not clear where an agreement would emerge. Now, it is true that there are more votes scheduled today. The Senate, in about 3 hours, is scheduled to essentially do the same thing they did yesterday, which would have votes on a Republican proposal and a Democratic proposal, both of which are expected to fail, and we're back at square one. So, it may be that they reach some kind of an agreement here when it comes to those supports for Obamacare premiums. I mean, that's a possible area where the two sides could come together, but they'd have to bring the House back into town to have them vote on a new plan and get that through the Senate then. So even if that's the case, and they reached agreement today on something different, it's going to take a while to get that through Congress.
Yeah, there are two votes scheduled to happen at 11 o'clock. Likely not much will come of it. We are not seeing much cracks, right, as this is moving forward now and hours have gone by. Talk about, though, the furloughs. As Mario was mentioning, when it comes to the TSA, federal workers are there, they're working, but they're not getting paid for it. They will, though, at some point receive back pay.
They will, and that was generally the case in the past as well. The difference this time around is that there is now a federal law that requires that back pay. So there is a guarantee that these paychecks will be not missed but delayed. Now, having said that, it's not easy for a lot of folks to go 30 days without a paycheck if this ends up being a protracted kind of a shutdown. But those individuals, whether they're working or not, whether they're deemed essential or non-essential, they still will be paid for this missed time.
Yeah, back in 2018 when we had a shutdown, 10% of TSA workers called out citing a tough hardship during that time. So we'll see what happens here and how long this is protracted and how that could impact our system there. All right, Doug Lazater live for us in Washington. We will check in with you in just a bit. Doug, thank you.